You will drown in eternal night.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and to another Mortal Kombat Mobile character review. Today we are taking a closer look at MK11 Shang Tsung. We will take a look at all of his special attacks, his basic attacks, his fatal blow, his brutality and everything else that he brings to MK Mobile. MK11 Shang Tsung is part of the Outworld class and his passive is called Doppelganger. On tag in MK11, Shang Tsung morphs into one of his opponents for 20 seconds, allowing him to use their own special attacks and X-ray/fatal blow. When below 2 bars of power, MK11 Shang Tsung passively generates power over time. Active MK11 teammates heal for 35% of their maximum health after defeating an opponent. MK11 Shang Tsung was added to MK Mobile with update 3.1 on December the 17th, 2020. And after teasing the character for a little bit, they already dropped him for the big Christmas sales, even though the MK Mobile team let the players know that this character was basically rushed and just made almost ready so that they could drop him for Christmas. And then after that, what followed was money pack after money pack after money pack, until he then finally dropped in a pack that was available for souls, and it was called the Shang Tsung MK11 Diamond Pack. By the way, a pack many players, including myself, had very bad experiences with. I'm just saying 17,000 souls for not a single copy. But aside from that, he is maxed out with level 60 and Fusion X. Shang Tsung's gear piece are the Soul Snake arms and they give you 15% X-ray/fatal blow attack damage boost, then transfer 25% damage to health on all special attacks against enemies affected by weaken, bleed or fire, which goes for Shang Tsung characters only, and gain invincibility for 3 seconds after the user performs X-ray/fatal blow. In terms of his feats of strength, he will have to win 500 matches in battle mode to unlock his rune. For his victory stances, he will have to win 750 matches in faction wars. For his taunts, he has to perform 250 X-ray/fatal blow attacks. For his icons, he has to perform 1500 special 2 attacks. For his backgrounds, he has to knock out 500 Raiden enemies. And for his titles, he has to perform 2000 special 1 attacks. And now we are going to take a closer look at the victory stances one by one, and we are starting with victory. Next we have warming up. Third would be Your Soul Is Mine. And exclusive for MK11 Shang Tsung only, Outworld Champion. And on your victory screen it will look like this. Now I'm going to show you all of his backgrounds. Next we have the icons. And finally the titles. MK11 Shang Tsung has two kinds of combo enders. The first one consists of 2 punches, 1 kick and 1 uppercut that knocks the opponent down to the ground. The second one consists of 2 punches, 1 elbow attack and then a fireball to the chest of the opponent, pushing the opponent back, making it ideal for follow-up attacks. His special 1 attack is called Crashing Flames and there is no buff or debuff tied to it, it simply deals damage. The Crashing Flames can be basically launched all across the screen, and what you also need to know about it is that this attack is capable of knocking out your opponent. His special 2 attack is called Soul Steal and it has a vampirism effect tied to it, which means that you gain health every time when you perform it, unless you are poisoned, I must say. This attack is not only unblockable, but it is also capable of knocking out your opponents. His fatal blow is called Shapeshifter Barrage and there is also no buff or debuff tied to it. You will, however, often notice that you will gain some health after performing this, especially after you KO'd an opponent with it. When it comes to the passive, you have either the option to remain as Shang Tsung and just fight with him himself, or you can shift into one of your 3 opponents, as called for 20 seconds. After that he will shift back into Shang Tsung's form. And what's also noteworthy to mention is that you can of course use your opponent's special attacks, including the effects as Power Drain and Snare, depending on what your opponent has on his abilities. However, the passive unfortunately is not copied. If you equip him with Soul Reaver Servant and Soul Reaver's King Cobra belt, you are able to perform special combo enders and of course also the brutality of MK11 Shang Tsung. While the normal combo enders enable you to push your opponent simply into the ground, the talent Brutal ending will give you the option to have mid-match brutality, and of course without that regularly you will also have the full brutality animation at the end if you defeat the final opponent with that brutality. Speaking of brutalities, if MK11 Shang Tsung wears his brutality gear and shifts into an opponent that has a brutality in the game, then he is able to perform that after shifting into that character. But unfortunately we don't know if that was intentional or if this feature will be taken away at some point, so just take that one with a grain of salt, it might disappear at some point. And now it's time to recommend some gear again, and my first choice would be the Frost Orb. A reanimation is always useful for Shang Tsung, and we will get to a lot of that now during this segment. The Frost Orb is only one piece. The other one I would recommend would be the Living Dead armor. Basically does the same thing, brings you back from the dead. So just that Shang Tsung is maybe able to get back to his special 2 and gain some health. Then my third option would be the Rusty Chainsaw, simply that you can have block breaking basic attacks as well as reducing the power cost of special 2 by 50%. Then choice number 4, I would say I would go with his own gear, but in this case it only really makes sense once it's maxed out, since you have that invulnerability after performing a fatal blow. This can be very nice, and it also has a quite cool animation to it. But besides that, of course, you're also able to heal a little bit more, so in that case I guess it really makes sense. But the winner in my book and the best gear piece to play with MK11 Shang Tsung is Scoundrel Cybernetic Heart, generating power once you reach a certain amount of health. It basically means that you reach your healing special 2 incredibly fast, or your fatal blow if you will. And here also the resurrecting gear pieces come into play, because you don't even need to worry that you are getting knocked out or x-rayed or something. You will just reanimate from the dead and then have that massive power generation boost, and that basically defeats every opponent, depending on, of course, your fusion of Shang Tsung. Mine is just fusion 0, so that's not that extreme yet, but if I imagine that that guy would be maxed out, he's unstoppable then. So when it comes to my personal favorite loadout, I would go with the Rusty Chainsaw, Living Dead, Frost Orb and Scoundrel Cybernetic Heart all at once. Just fire from all cannons, if you will. Because already said, my Shang Tsung is only at Fusion 0 at this point and dies very fast, so he kind of needs that for now. But besides that, it's also a lot of fun just to have almost every special attack at your disposal immediately. When it comes to character recommendations, my first choice would be MK11 Noob Saibot. It's pretty cool. If you block an attack, then the Shadow Clone will immediately apply Deathmark, which makes it easier for MK11 Shang Tsung then to defeat that opponent for good, especially when you are using the unblockable Special 2. The next character I would recommend would be MK11 Raiden. With him in the team, it's not possible to power drain MK11 Shang Tsung. So even if you don't play MK11 Raiden, I know a lot of players don't really like him that much, but power drain immunity is pretty cool. Then the next choice would be MK11 Cabal, removes the stun and also avenges you in case you are really defeated. But to avoid that defeating part even a little bit more, you can of course also go with MK11 Sub-Zero, which comes in at my number 4. But the winner in my book and the best character to play with MK11 Shang Tsung is MK11 Jade, and here is a very good reason. With her, you will become immune or even healing from poison DOTs and other DOTs of course as well, but in this case the poison one is the crucial one, because when MK11 Shang Tsung is poisoned, he's not able to use the vampirism or his passive that heals, and with Jade in the team that would be basically reversed. MK11 Shang Tsung is an absolute fun character, even though there are some issues, and here let's get right into the big problem. And at the moment this one is his tag-in. As I heard or even seen on older videos as he was launched, players were able to click a special attack before the morphing process started, which means that the special attack was executed immediately after the morph, but at the moment this is no longer the case, which makes him extremely fragile and basically attackable. In the moment he morphs, he already gets hit, and that I can only imagine that that is something that was never really the intention, so that will hopefully change very soon, in best case with the next update, because this issue is really a big one and it takes a lot away from the enjoyment of playing the character. You don't even want to tag him in because you know that you will get hit anyway. In this case I'm also putting all this reanimation and revive gear on him, because I'm already expecting to get hit, maybe even knocked out. So in this case he will survive that at least a few times. But let's face it, it never should be like that. Maybe they can make it so that he pushes the opponent back a little once he tags in, or just that the opponent maybe delays his attack for about a second or something. That will make him so much better, because he's a lot of fun when it comes to that amazing unblockable special 2, for example, and this gorgeous looking fatal blow. Unfortunately, he really lacks in the brutality department. But yeah, with that we reach the pros and cons again, and let's just break it down quick. So my first pro would be the healing abilities, which goes not only for the passive but also the unblockable special 2. The animation looks great, it's really fun to perform this special attack, and gaining some health back is always a great thing. Then my third pro, I already mentioned it, the fatal blow. It absolutely looks gorgeous when he morphs into Sub-Zero, Scorpion and Noob Saibot. Granted, it would be also nice to have like a buff or debuff tied to that fatal blow, but on the other hand there is also the fact that he can heal, so pretty much that makes up for that negative. But speaking of negatives, let's get into those, and of course the tag in is the biggest issue. Constantly getting hit just because there is no wiggle room to really work with, and I actually tried a lot of things, including tossing gears like Meat's Cleaver. The Psych Bomb was a little more promising, but that only really makes sense then if the stun is also applied. For now, the best ways to get around it, either if the opponent is frozen or stunned. With some skill you can also tag him out while the opponent is in midst of his basic attacks, so that you basically have the cooldown phase of that basic attack just in time to morph and attack back. But let's face it, it's a really bad problem, and it needs to be fixed as soon as possible. And hopefully, if you're watching that in the near future, this will already no longer be an issue and he is fixed and perfect in terms of tagging. I really hope so, but for now, as I'm making this review, we have this issue, so I have to list it here. Then the next negative is the very disappointing brutality. He now feels a little bit like a Combat Cup character, basically playing soccer with his opponent. And it's such a shame, because he literally has a Soul Steel brutality on the console version. And I guess pretty much everybody expected this one to be the one given to MK11 Shang Tsung for mobile, but surprise, surprise, this wasn't the case, and it actually really seems like we got the worst of all his brutalities. So very disappointing here in that part. As you saw, I didn't even list his own brutality gear in my gear recommendations, simply because I'm not even really using that stuff. Then the third part, another very disappointing thing, are the taunts and victory stances. When it comes to the taunts, we have the voice of MK9 Shang Tsung as well as MK vs DC, so not even the voice of the great Cary Tagawa. And while we're at it, I just want to add a little side note that I also would have loved to have the old man Shang version instead of the young one, but that's on a different page and a very personal preference. What is unforgivable though is that we don't have the taunt "Your soul is mine," or at least it has begun, the absolute staples of Shang Tsung. Seriously guys, sometimes I really don't know what they are smoking at NetherRealm Studios, but listen to that, they even forgot to add his crushing blow. But really, to close off the victory stance segment and here as well, I do appreciate the final victory stance that they at least been acknowledging his snake technique. But unfortunately it looks done very poorly. It really has no magic to it, it just feels out of place. So not really happy with that either. But let's move on then to the character rating. And for MK11 Shang Tsung, despite all the issues and little problems that we have, I'm still willing to give him an 8 out of 10. He has a lot of potential, and I really can see somewhere down the line that they will be constantly tweaking this character as they did with already the last 2 updates. If you've seen the patch notes, MK11 Shang Tsung was always the character who had the most bugs fixed at the same time, sometimes 3, 4, 5 in a row. So let's hope that at least this trend continues and we will finally be able to freely tag in MK11 Shang Tsung, that we will get a crushing blow for this guy, because if they add all that stuff and fix some of the issues, he will be just an amazing character to play. Maybe not the best card in the game, but a lot of fun, and we have been waiting for so extremely long to finally have Shang Tsung in the game. It took many years. Now he is here. Let's at least be happy about that fact. And yeah, thus concludes my review for MK11 Shang Tsung. I hope that you enjoyed this video, that you are enjoying the character as well. And I know it's a little bit early, but I wanted to get this review out to you guys, because in a few hours the next day will start here, and for me that means I will have my personal little anniversary, 4 years of playing MK Mobile on a daily basis, never missed a single day. And what could be more fitting than to deliver a video about a character that we have been waiting for so long. Thank you for tuning in once again. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment and subscribe. In case you didn't like the video, hit the dislike button twice just to make sure. And if you want to support the channel a little further, please consider joining the Patreon family of KC Mobile Gaming. You can already do that with as little as just $1 a month. And also follow me on social media like Twitter and Facebook. You will find all the necessary information in the description below of every video. If you want to see more content, then why don't you just click on one of those 2 videos here. Thank you for your support. Have a good one. KC over and out for today.